Okay, good morning. Today is the 1st of December. All right. Okay, so let's begin with English. So you can click onto the link to Google Classroom, Google Doc. Okay, and scroll down. Okay, scroll down to page 15. Sentence number 4, transition word. Sentence number 4, page 15. Page 15, sentence 4. All right. Okay, so sentence 4, the transition word is to put it differently. Okay, to put it differently, it can be understood as in other words. All right, so example, the plan failed due to lack of funding. Okay, lack of funding meaning that lack of money. Okay, so it's like we failed the plan because of the we have not enough money. Okay, lack of funding. To put it differently, meaning that in other words or in other way of saying it is, they ran out of money. Okay, so that's a meaning of, or this is the, this is when you're using the transition word. Okay. Okay, make a sample sentence. Sometimes when you fail your test or you do not do well in your test, why is it so? In other words, or to put it differently, okay? What's the reason? Okay, change it to for not paying. Change to for not paying. Okay, then cancel this. For not for not paying the electric. Okay, Kalina, can you read the sentence again? Okay, so please touch up the sentence. The part that you don't feel right, please touch up the sentence for the part that you do not feel right. Okay, touch up the part that you don't feel right. Okay, do you feel like there's a necessary to touch up the sentence? If you don't feel like there's a necessary to touch up the sentence, you can move on to sentence number 5. If you feel like there's not necessary to touch up sentence number 4, you can move on to sentence number 5. Okay, Kalina, how to progress now? Are you working at question 4 or question 5? Okay, you can change your sentence to there's a lot there's a lot of things to do in the hotel, or the hotel offers a lot of things to do. Okay. Here, number 6, transition word in general. Okay, to talk about the general idea or to convey the general idea. It's like, in general, people prefer sunny weather, meaning that most of the people, okay, most of the people prefer sunny weather. Okay, that's a general idea. Okay, 7, For one thing, transition word, I don't want to go out. For one thing, I'm feeling sick. Okay, so you're using transition word for one thing. It's like to express the reason why. Okay. Okay, it's just like because. Okay, just like because. But another way of saying because. Or when you have more than one reason, like, I don't want to go out. There are many reasons why I don't want to go out. One of the reasons is I'm feeling sick. Of course, there are other reasons. Feeling sick is just one of the reasons. So for one thing. Mm, mm, and appetite. Okay. Number 8, like many fruits, like apples and oranges, are rich in vitamins. So, like it just like, for example, another way of saying, for example. Do you read books? You can write a sentence about books. Like many books, like you can name the book. What kind of book do you read most of the time? fiction or motivational or informative ones. Okay, try to think of some examples. Imaginary. Highly imaginary. Okay, change your sentence. Highly imaginary. Highly imaginary. Okay. Number 9. In particular, she loves all kinds of music, in particular, jazz. So in particular means specifically. Specifically. Okay, so she loves all kind of music, especially or specifically jazz. Okay, move on to number 10. Okay, can move number 10 to the next row, next page. Okay, what else can be illustrated? Like you can illustrate your experience to others. Can also illustrate. What else can you illustrate besides experience? You can illustrate a concept. Okay, for example, any concepts that you learn in science, photosynthesis, example, right? You can explain what you learn about the knowledge. Example, you can illustrate the concepts of science, or you can illustrate the concepts of mathematics. Like, why do you have to learn addition, subtraction, multiplication, and even division in mathematics? All right. So you can illustrate the reason why you're learning addition or subtraction. What is the reason you're learning addition, subtraction in mathematics? So that you can calculate, okay, so that you can make calculation in your everyday lives. So as an illustration, let me what? Anything. You can illustrate knowledge, illustrate concepts, illustrate information. Okay, move on. 11. To be sure, the task is difficult to be sure, is not impossible. Yeah, something is difficult. Um, However, it is not impossible to achieve something. Okay, even though it's difficult, right? Okay, think of an example that give contrasting effect. Okay, like the sample sentence, something that seems to be difficult, but is not at all impossible. All right, contrasting, difficult, but not impossible. And what else? What other contrasting example? Okay, you can talk about the job. Okay, the job is, give some contrasting effect. Okay, you can mention that, oh, the job can be easy or the job can be hard. But the contrasting effect, to be sure, what? Okay, let's say the job is easy, but do you think that it's at all that easy? Or you can say that the job is difficult, but do you think that it's at all that difficult all the time? Okay, the job is what in the first place? So the contrasting effect to hard is, they say the job is hard. What's a contrasting effect to hard? Sometimes some job might seems to be hard. Okay, but maybe you just need to stay focused, 100% concentration for 2 days of the work. The rest of the 3 days of work that's easy, like you don't have to pay full attention, or it's more relaxing. Okay. Okay, to be sure, like for example, one has to pay 100% concentration for 2 days in a week. You know that sometimes certain jobs, they demand high concentration level. Okay, however, it might just be a few days of high concentration level. Okay, not every day. It needs high concentration. Okay, when you're using the word, the transition word to be sure, you have to give contrasting effect. Okay, you need to give contrasting effect in the sentence. Okay, contrasting effect, it means that on one hand, you talk about the benefits. On the other hand, you can talk about the disadvantages, like the good and the bad. You have to mention. If you want to use to be sure in your sentence as a transition word, then you have to give contrasting effect. Okay, the job is hard to be sure. It demands 2 days of full concentration. Oh, wait. Okay. Okay, contrasting effect. Okay, that's a contrasting effect. I said it only demands. It only demands 2 days of full concentration in a week. Right, so that is a contrasting effect. Yes, it's hard. I know the job is hard, but it doesn't mean that you have to pay full attention every day. It's only 2 days in a week. Contrasting. Okay, next one, number 12, in detail. The report explained the process in detail. Okay, this is simple. Okay, besides the report, what else can explain in detail? Okay, 13. In this case, like normally we don't allow exceptions, but in this case we will make one. Okay, so we don't accept, okay, we do not accept exception. But this time around, we can, okay, we can allow exception just for this time around. Okay, what is not allowed in a normal circumstance? Uh, like you are not allowed to eat in a class, but in this case, you are allowed. Why? Or normally, you are not allowed to walk outside the classroom when everyone's, when the teacher is teaching. But in this case, you are allowed to walk outside the classroom. Why? There must be some reasons. Like everyone, okay, everyone should submit their homework. No one is allowed to skip homework submission. But in this case, you are allowed to skip homework submission. Why? There must be some reason. For everyone, okay, no one is allowed to skip test or exam in school. But in this case, you are allowed. Why? There must be some reasons. Okay, what I can say, but in this case, you are accepted. Okay, in this case, you are accepted, or we allow an exception, or you are allowed an exception. Okay, or you are given the exception. Okay, just make a sentence. Okay, 14, namely, now two people were responsible. Namely, you can name the person who are responsible. Okay, or you can talk about not just about people. You can use namely for people. You can use it for places, for things. Okay, or if you're talking about the name of project, you can also talk about the name of chapters, like, oh, we learn blah blah. Okay, we learned 2 chapters in school this week. Namely, name the chapters. You can also talk about places. Okay, we went to several places today, namely, okay, name the place. All right, 15. To demonstrate, like to demonstrate means like to illustrate. Another way of saying it, to illustrate. Okay, so let me show you an example to demonstrate the concept or to illustrate the concept. You can explain to demonstrate the concept, or you can show to demonstrate the idea. You can present to demonstrate the concept or idea. Okay, there are a lot of things that you can demonstrate. You know, sometimes there are artists who paint to demonstrate the idea. Okay, so through the painting, they demonstrate the idea or concepts. Okay, there are artists, especially dancer. You know, dancer dance to demonstrate the ideas or concept. Okay, from the artistic perspective. And you know that for some chefs, they do write, they do have their own cookbook. Okay, but sometimes cookbook may not fully demonstrate, okay, the cooking skills. So there are chefs, they make videos teaching people how to cook because they want to demonstrate the cooking skills. Okay, which is something that the cookbook cannot show or cannot demonstrate. My drawing to demonstrate. Okay. Okay, one more. 16 for this reason. Okay. The roads were icy. So for this reason, the school was closed. Okay, it's like because the road were icy, that's why the school were closed. Okay, so for this reason, to show reason. Okay, write down one sample sentence. You don't mix past tense and present tense together. We don't mix present tense and past tense together. Okay, please take a look. Is there anything that you want to touch up to the sentence? If you feel like everything is all right, you can move on. Is there anything that you want to touch up to the sentence? Okay, if you don't feel like you need to touch up the sentence, then you can go for an 8-minute break. Okay, after 8-minute break, we will move on with the science lesson. Okay, the decision is yours. Do you want to spend some time, touch up the sentence, or go for an 8-minute break before we move on to science? Do you feel like anything wrong with the sentence that you need to touch up? Is there anything wrong with the sentence that you need to touch up? Okay, you may leave now if you don't feel like anything that you need to touch up, all right? You may leave for 8 minutes break if you don't feel like there's anything you need to touch up to the sentence.